We've been told a story about overthinking, that it's a social flaw, a source of anxiety and paralysis. But what if that story is incomplete? What if your tendency to analyze everything people say isn't a bug, but a latent strength? This video reframes that mental habit. It shows how 6 specific, rare traits emerge directly from this pattern of deep analysis, turning a burden you've carried into a disciplined tool for clarity, focus, and resilience. Let's identify the first one. So the first trait isn't about what you hear, but what you see. You unconsciously map the gaps between what is said and what is meant. A person says I'm fine, but their tone is flat, their arms are crossed, and their logic skips a beat. Your mind doesn't just hear the words. It flags the inconsistency. This isn't paranoia. It's a form of trained pattern recognition. You're seeing the true structure of the conversation, and that foundation of insight is what creates a surprising calm. You're not lost in the noise. You see the scaffolding, which means you're not reacting to every surface-level word. This is the starting point, because once you see these patterns, you begin to build something far more useful. That pattern recognition you just saw, it doesn't just stop at noticing a gap. It starts building something. You begin to construct a working model of a person, not a judgment, but a predictive map of their internal logic, what they truly value, what triggers a defensive reaction, the unspoken rules they operate by. This is why you can often guess how someone will respond before they even speak. You're not reading minds. You're running a simulation based on observed data, and this changes everything. Communication becomes less about navigating a minefield and more about following a known map. You can choose words that resonate with their values, avoiding unnecessary friction because you anticipated the bump. It's a form of empathy built on understanding, not just feeling. And with that map in hand, you gain a crucial new ability. Now, with that model of someone's internal logic, you don't just understand them. You can see the future. You can identify the exact phrase or topic that will trigger defensiveness, the question that will cause a shutdown, before a single word is spoken in anger. This isn't about walking on eggshells. It's strategic navigation. You see the emotional landmine, so you can choose to disarm it, go around it, or even acknowledge it safely. That transforms potential conflict from a surprise attack into a managed situation. You maintain your own calm because you're not reacting to an explosion. You're observing a predictable mechanism. This is how analysis becomes a tool for connection, not just critique. You're using insight to preserve the relationship's stability, not just to be right. This ability to anticipate friction gives you a powerful filter for the conversation itself. You stop hearing just the words, the venting, the posturing, the irrelevant details. Instead, you instantly isolate the core signal, the actual request, the hidden need, the substantive point buried in the noise. It's the difference between reacting to someone's dramatic story about a coworker and hearing the simple request, I need backup on this project. Your mind automatically discards the emotional clutter and latches onto the operational truth. This is why you can resolve issues efficiently, often with a single focused response, while others get tangled in the drama. You're not drained by the conversation because you weren't fighting in the noise. You were building on the signal. And that clear signal is what creates the space for a truly strategic reply. This is where the payoff happens. Because you've already processed the deeper layers, the pattern, the model, the core signal. You're not reacting to the surface level words. That creates a deliberate, automatic pause. It's not an awkward silence. It's a buffer of strategic patience. In that space, you can choose a response. Not the one that wins the moment or vents the emotion, but the one that aligns with a longer-term goal, building trust, de-escalating tension, or finding a real solution. This turns communication from a reactive sport into a disciplined practice. You build resilience not by avoiding hard conversations, but by navigating them with this calibrated patience. And this is where that patience pays off in a powerful way. You're no longer just reacting to what's being said. You're seeing the structure of the conversation itself. You start to recognize the tools of influence not as compelling reality, but as tools. The flattery, the false urgency, the logical fallacies. They become visible architecture, not an invisible force. And when you see the scaffolding, you can't be swept up by it. This gives you a quiet immunity. You can engage with the idea on its actual merits, or you can choose to disengage entirely, protecting your focus and decisions from the pressure. It turns the social world from a series of demands into a series of choices you get to make. And that control is what we'll use to move from analysis into action. So the goal isn't to live in your head, analyzing forever. It's to use these 6 traits as a discipline system. This week, practice just one. Before you respond in a conversation, pause. Ask yourself, what is the core signal here, and what is just noise? That single question transforms your analysis from a mental loop into a tool for focus. It turns a trait you thought was a burden into a source of resilience. You have the hardware. Now it's about the software, the deliberate choice to engage it. Start there.